Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand one simple truth today. Kindness can ruin you. But before you jump to conclusions, let me assure you, I am not attacking the idea of kindness. Kindness is an essential quality in life. But just like any other virtue, if not understood and applied correctly, it has the power to harm more than help. Kindness is often celebrated as one of the greatest virtues a person can possess. It's seen as a reflection of a compassionate heart and a selfless spirit, traits that the world desperately needs. However, there is a hidden danger in kindness that many fail to recognize. Kindness without boundaries can ultimately lead to exploitation. While your intention might be to help others, the absence of limits can invite manipulation, deceit, and a draining of your energy, resources, and time. When you are constantly kind to others, especially without considering the impact on your own life, you open yourself up to being taken advantage of. The world is full of individuals who will gladly accept your generosity, whether it be in the form of your time, your money, or your emotional energy. At first, this giving may seem noble, but the more you give without reservation, the more others begin to expect it. They stop seeing your kindness as a gift and start viewing it as a right, an entitlement that they can rely on at any time. Those who understand this dynamic can become manipulative. They will recognize your kindness and begin to exploit it, knowing that you won't say no. In fact, they may never even express gratitude for what you do for them, because they've grown to expect it. The moment you stop providing, they might even turn on you, accusing you of being selfish or uncaring, even though they've taken more than they ever needed. They feel connected to you, and they will never allow you to grow or get to where you need to go. This is the danger of kindness without boundaries. It can create a dynamic where you become the supplier but never the recipient. It is critical to recognize that kindness is not about endless self-sacrifice. True kindness is not about depleting yourself to the point of exhaustion just to keep others satisfied. If you are kind without limits, you will eventually reach a point where there is nothing left to give, not only to others but also to yourself. You may even begin to feel resentment toward those you are trying to help, because they have come to expect more from you than you can offer. This resentment will eat away at your spirit, leaving you with feelings of bitterness and emptiness, instead of the joy that should come from helping others. Without boundaries, kindness loses its power. It no longer becomes an intentional act of love and compassion, but rather an obligation, a never-ending cycle of giving until you have nothing left. As you give, you may find that others are not offering anything in return. Some people will take your kindness and run with it, and you will be left wondering if anyone truly values what you have done. The truth is, they may not. The more you give without limits, the more you open the door to exploitation. In fact, kindness without boundaries is an invitation to be used, and over time it can erode your sense of self-worth. When people see that you are constantly available to serve them, they may begin to see you as a tool, a resource to be used, rather than an individual with needs and desires of your own. This dynamic can strip you of your dignity and reduce you to nothing more than a giver with no boundaries. The key to maintaining your integrity and emotional health while being kind is to learn the power of discernment. Boundaries are not unkind, they are wise. They are necessary for maintaining healthy relationships, both with others and with yourself. Setting boundaries allows you to decide when and how to give, based on your own capacity and your values. Boundaries ensure that you are not being manipulated or exploited, while still being able to offer your kindness to those who genuinely need it. Ultimately, kindness is meant to be a gift. It is an act of goodwill, not a commodity to be exploited. When we give without boundaries, we risk turning our gift of kindness into something that harms us rather than helps us. We must remember that kindness should never come at the cost of our own well-being. When we set healthy boundaries, we protect ourselves from exploitation, ensuring that our kindness remains a source of strength and joy rather than a source of depletion. In our pursuit of kindness, it's easy to fall into the trap of self-sacrifice. We may feel compelled to help others, to serve those around us, and to be there for everyone in need. While this may come from a place of deep compassion and a desire to make a difference, it carries with it a danger that is often overlooked: the danger of neglecting our own well-being, dreams, and goals. In the beginning, self-sacrifice might feel rewarding. You may think that by putting others first, you're fulfilling your purpose and doing what is right. The joy of helping others can bring a sense of fulfillment, but if you make it your sole focus, you begin to lose sight of your own needs. You start to prioritize the needs of others over your own desires and aspirations. You may put off your dreams for tomorrow, saying to yourself, "I'll get to my goals later, once I've helped this person," or "I'll take care of myself once everyone else is okay." Over time, this becomes a dangerous pattern. The more you sacrifice, the more you deplete yourself, and the more you disregard your own dreams and goals. You may find yourself constantly giving, never taking the time to replenish your own energy or focus on your own growth. This cycle of self-sacrifice can lead to feelings of frustration, burnout, and ultimately a deep sense of unfulfillment. You begin to feel that no matter how much you give, you never receive in return. Not from others, and often not from yourself either. It's crucial to understand that serving others and helping them is vital, but it should never come at the expense of your own well-being. The idea of constantly putting others before yourself can be noble, but if you lose sight of your own purpose and passions in the process, you may wake up one day and realize that you have neglected the very things that give your life meaning. Your personal goals, your health, your dreams, these are just as important as the needs of others. And if you don't take care of them, you will eventually run out of the energy and the will to serve anyone, including yourself. This self-sacrifice can leave you feeling broken. When you pour yourself into others without taking the time to refuel, to nurture your own soul, you are left with an empty vessel. You may feel like you're constantly giving from a place of exhaustion, and that can create a sense of bitterness, even though you are trying to be kind. Instead of joyfully giving, you begin to resent the very acts of kindness that once brought you satisfaction. You may even find yourself asking, "Why am I doing this?" Or, "What about me?" The truth is that when you sacrifice too much of yourself, you lose your sense of identity. You forget the things that bring you happiness and fulfillment. You are so busy meeting the needs of others that you no longer remember what it feels like to chase your own dreams. The passion you once had for your own goals starts to fade, and all that remains is a sense of depletion. Your kindness may have once been a source of strength, but now it feels like a weight, a burden. This is not to say that we should abandon kindness or service to others. On the contrary, serving others is one of the greatest things we can do. But it's essential to understand that we cannot serve others effectively if we are not taking care of ourselves first. We cannot pour from an empty cup. We need to make sure that we are nurturing our own growth, pursuing our own dreams, and taking time for our own well-being. Only then can we offer genuine kindness and help those around us without depleting ourselves. When we neglect our own purpose, we end up doing a disservice to ourselves and to those we are trying to help. We may even begin to project our frustration and discontent onto others, which is the opposite of kindness. The danger of self-sacrifice is not that it is inherently bad, but that it can lead us down a path of self-neglect. The key is to find balance. Serve others, but also serve yourself. Pursue your dreams, nurture your health, and build a life that fulfills you so that when you give, you are doing so from a place of strength, not desperation. Only then can your kindness truly make a difference, not just for others, but for yourself as well. True kindness is often misunderstood as simply agreeing with others or going along with whatever they ask of us. We might think that to be kind, we must always be available, always say yes, and always put others' needs before our own. While it's true that kindness involves helping and caring for others, true kindness is far more complex and requires a great deal of wisdom. Without wisdom, kindness can easily become an act of weakness, rather than the strength it is meant to represent. When kindness is based solely on the desire to please others, we lose sight of the deeper purpose of kindness. True kindness is not about being a doormat or sacrificing your integrity to make others happy. It's about understanding when to give and when to hold back. It's about having the wisdom to discern the right time and the right people to invest your energy in. Many times we fail to recognize that kindness should not be unconditional in every situation. There are moments when the most kind thing you can do for someone is to say no. There are moments when stepping back, setting boundaries, and allowing someone to learn on their own is the greatest act of kindness you can offer. If you constantly say yes, even when it drains you or goes against your own values, your kindness becomes a burden, not a blessing. It's important to remember that saying no can be the kindest thing you do for both yourself and the other person. This is where wisdom comes in. Wisdom allows you to understand that kindness is not about pleasing others at all costs. Instead, it's about discerning the true needs of those around you and determining how you can help in a way that benefits both them and you. Sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is to walk away from a situation that will only drain your resources or harm your well-being. You must recognize that kindness is not about giving endlessly. It is about giving thoughtfully, with intention, and with awareness of your limits. Wisdom also helps you understand that your kindness should not be abused. When you give without discernment, you risk becoming a source of dependency for others. If someone comes to you repeatedly for help without ever making any effort to help themselves, your kindness might actually be enabling their stagnation. Wisdom teaches you that there are moments when it is better to encourage someone to rise to the occasion themselves, rather than continuously stepping in to solve their problems. Without wisdom, kindness becomes an empty gesture. It loses its purpose and power. It becomes an act of weakness, a compulsion to please others rather than an intentional choice to offer help. When we give without wisdom, we are often motivated by fear of rejection, fear of being seen as unkind, or fear of disappointing others. This type of kindness is based on insecurity, not strength. It is not rooted in a genuine desire to help, but in a desire to be accepted or liked. True kindness, however, comes from a place of strength, a strength that is grounded in self-awareness and the wisdom to know when to give, when to step back, and when to protect your own energy. One of the most powerful aspects of wisdom is that it allows you to recognize that kindness is not about giving until you are empty. Instead, it is about giving from a place of abundance. Abundance of energy, abundance of purpose, and abundance of wisdom. Wisdom shows you that you can still be kind while maintaining your own well-being, and that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for others is to prioritize your own needs. True kindness, therefore, is not an unthinking impulse to say yes to everything. It is the conscious, discerning choice to give what is truly needed, when it is needed, and in a way that promotes growth and empowerment, both for others and for yourself. Kindness requires wisdom because it is not just about doing what others expect of you. It's about understanding what is best for both you and the people you seek to help. When kindness is coupled with wisdom, it becomes a powerful force for good, one that does not deplete you but enhances the lives of everyone it touches. As a leader, the role of kindness is crucial, but it must always be tempered with discernment. In leadership, kindness is not about being liked or being a people pleaser. It is about making decisions that serve the greater good, even if those decisions are difficult or unpopular. Without discernment, kindness in leadership can quickly become a weakness that undermines the effectiveness of the leader and the team as a whole. When kindness is not balanced with discernment, leaders may fail to make the tough decisions that are necessary for progress. In any leadership position, difficult choices are inevitable. Whether it's holding someone accountable for underperformance, challenging the status quo, or making decisions that might cause temporary discomfort, a true leader must have the courage to make the right call, not the easy one. Leaders who are overly kind might avoid these difficult decisions because they fear conflict, rejection, or hurting the feelings of their team members. However, when kindness becomes the sole motivator, the needs of the team or organization are compromised. A leader must know when kindness needs to take a back seat to strategic decisions that will benefit the team in the long run. Moreover, an overly kind leader may struggle to prioritize their own growth or assert the level of excellence required from their team. Leadership is not about being liked. It is about vision, direction, and accountability. When kindness is the primary focus, a leader may allow complacency to creep into their team because they avoid setting firm expectations or holding others accountable for their actions. Leaders who are constantly trying to please their teams may avoid pushing individuals to perform at their best, either out of a fear of rejection or a desire to maintain harmony. However, this kind of approach leads to mediocrity, and mediocrity can never produce the level of success or innovation required in any thriving organization. True leadership is about balance. It is about finding the right equilibrium between kindness and the tough love that is often required to propel others to greatness. Leadership is not about being everyone's friend. It is about being willing to make the tough calls, even when those calls may cause discomfort. A leader must be able to offer support, encouragement, and compassion, but also hold people accountable and demand excellence. Leaders who prioritize being liked over being effective will ultimately lose the respect of their teams because they will not be seen as individuals who can make the hard choices necessary for growth and success. There's also a danger when kindness prevents a leader from prioritizing their own growth. In their desire to serve others, overly kind leaders might put the needs of their team ahead of their own development, focusing all their attention on the well-being of others while neglecting their own goals and aspirations. As leaders, it's essential to continue growing, learning, and evolving. Leadership is a responsibility that requires continual investment in oneself. Leadership is a responsibility that requires continual investment in oneself. If a leader doesn't take the time to prioritize their own personal and professional development, they cannot effectively guide their team. Leaders who neglect their own growth eventually become stagnant, and this stagnation trickles down to their teams. It's also important to recognize that true leadership requires leaders to demand excellence, both from themselves and from their teams. Leaders who are overly kind may avoid addressing underperformance out of a desire to maintain peace or avoid confrontation. However, failing to address issues of mediocrity or complacency results in a lack of discipline and accountability within the team. Excellence requires high standards, and high standards are often uncomfortable. To maintain a culture of excellence, a leader must be willing to make tough decisions, such as addressing poor performance or setting higher expectations for the team. This is not a contradiction of kindness. It is a manifestation of a leader's commitment to helping others reach their full potential. In the end, leadership is not about being liked, it's about being respected. Leaders who lead with discernment know when to balance kindness with the tough decisions required to propel their team towards success. They understand that kindness without discernment weakens leadership, and that true strength comes from the ability to make the right decisions, even when those decisions are difficult. Great leaders lead with a clear vision, hold themselves and others accountable, and possess the wisdom to know when kindness should take a step back in favor of making choices that ultimately move the team forward. It's this balance that separates effective leaders from those who merely seek to be liked. When kindness is constantly offered without discernment or boundaries, it can shift from being an appreciated gift to an expected entitlement. In the beginning, acts of kindness may be met with gratitude and admiration, but over time, if you continue to give without limits, people may begin to take your generosity for granted. What was once a voluntary act of goodwill may transform into something that is expected from you, and this shift can subtly erode the value of your kindness. At first, people may appreciate your willingness to help, to offer a listening ear, or to go out of your way to make their lives easier. They may recognize the effort you're putting into their well-being and feel genuinely grateful. But the more you offer without establishing boundaries or limits, the more others begin to take this kindness for granted. They stop seeing your acts of generosity as special, and instead, they begin to view them as something they are entitled to. The appreciation begins to fade, replaced by an assumption that you will always be there to provide, no matter the cost to yourself. As kindness becomes an expectation, you begin to feel like you are being taken for granted. The initial joy that came with helping others starts to wane. You may find yourself giving out of obligation rather than desire, and you might even begin to resent the very people you are trying to help. It's no longer about making a difference in their lives, it's about fulfilling a role that they have come to expect from you. You may feel unappreciated, overlooked, and undervalued because the very people you've helped no longer express gratitude or acknowledge your effort. They assume that your kindness is just something that will always be there, no matter how much you sacrifice. This can have a significant emotional impact. When kindness becomes an expectation, it diminishes the intrinsic value of your actions. You no longer feel that your generosity is seen as a gift, but rather as a duty. This can lead to a sense of burnout, frustration, and eventually resentment. Over time, as you continue to give without receiving appreciation, your sense of worth in the eyes of others, and even in your own eyes, begins to erode. When kindness is no longer seen as a special gift, but as something that is just out to others, your self-esteem can take a hit. You may begin to feel like a resource to be used, rather than a person with your own needs and desires. Furthermore, when people expect your kindness, they may start to see you as someone who will always prioritize others over yourself. This can lead to unhealthy dynamics where your needs and boundaries are overlooked or ignored. You may find yourself giving more than you can afford, whether emotionally, physically, or financially, simply because others have come to expect it. When you fail to meet their expectations, you might even be met with disappointment or frustration, which can reinforce the cycle of entitlement and further diminish your sense of self-worth. The root of this issue lies in the lack of boundaries. Without clear boundaries, kindness loses its power. It stops being an intentional act of love or service and becomes an automatic response, something that is expected rather than chosen. This is why it is essential to recognize that kindness is a gift. It should not be given out of obligation, nor should it be demanded. When you make kindness something that is freely given, with the recognition that it can also be withheld when necessary, it retains its value. The key to preventing your kindness from becoming an expectation is to maintain awareness of your limits and communicate those limits clearly. When people see your acts of goodwill as gifts rather than entitlements, they are far more likely to appreciate and value them. Your kindness will remain a powerful force in their lives, not because they expect it, but because they understand that it is a reflection of your heart, not something that is owed to them. In this way, kindness remains a source of connection, not frustration, and it continues to strengthen relationships rather than depleting them. Ultimately, kindness should be a choice, not a burden. When it becomes an expectation, it loses its ability to make a meaningful impact. By setting boundaries and practicing discernment, you can ensure that your kindness continues to be a gift, something that is valued, appreciated, and not taken for granted. Kindness is often seen as a gentle, selfless virtue, but at its core, it is not an act of weakness or fragility. In fact, the foundation of true kindness is rooted in strength, the strength to know when to act, when to step in and help, and equally important, when to hold back, set boundaries, and protect your own well-being. True kindness comes from a place of inner security, confidence, and purpose, not from a desire to please others or from insecurity. When kindness is rooted in weakness or desperation for approval, it becomes conditional and can quickly turn manipulative or enabling. People who act out of insecurity often give not because they truly want to help, but because they fear rejection or are seeking validation. They believe that by being kind, they will be accepted, loved, or appreciated. This form of kindness is born out of a need to be liked or approved of, and it is not sustainable. It is driven by fear rather than genuine compassion. True kindness, on the other hand, flows from a place of self-assurance. It is the act of giving not because you need something in return, but because you genuinely want to offer help or love. It comes from a place of strength, where you have a clear understanding of your own worth and the value of your actions. When you are confident in who you are, you can be kind without any hidden agenda or expectation of praise. Your kindness is not a way to seek approval, but a reflection of your purpose and values. It is an intentional choice to show love and care, regardless of how it will be received. The strength behind kindness also lies in the ability to discern when it is appropriate to act and when it is not. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to let them face the consequences of their own actions. Offering help all the time can enable unhealthy behaviors or stifle personal growth. Strength in kindness means knowing when to step in and when to stand back. allowing others the space to learn and grow on their own. This requires a certain level of maturity and wisdom, as it involves recognizing that not every moment calls for immediate action. Kindness rooted in strength is not about constantly rescuing others. It's about knowing when to provide support and when to allow individuals to take responsibility for their own lives. Leaders, mentors, and caregivers alike must recognize that the most empowering acts of kindness are those that help others find their own strength, not those that perpetually rescue them from challenges. By setting limits on when and how you give, you allow others to develop resilience and self-reliance. This form of kindness does not drain you. It empowers others to grow and take ownership of their own lives. Furthermore, kindness rooted in strength also means that you are capable of setting and maintaining boundaries. Without boundaries, kindness becomes a tool for others to take advantage of. You may be continually giving and giving, yet feeling unappreciated or even exhausted. When kindness is rooted in weakness, you may feel obligated to give, regardless of how it affects your energy or well-being. However, when kindness is rooted in strength, you know that it is okay to say no, to step back, and to prioritize your own health and goals. This balance ensures that your kindness remains a source of joy and fulfillment, rather than a source of depletion. Strength also allows you to be consistent in your kindness, because it comes from a place of inner peace. You are not swayed by external circumstances or emotional triggers. You give because it is a reflection of who you are, not because you are hoping to receive something in return. You are not seeking external validation, but rather expressing love and care in a way that is true to your own values. Kindness rooted in strength is steady, reliable, and genuine. It does not falter based on how it is received or whether it leads to immediate rewards. Ultimately, kindness is not a sign of weakness. It is a powerful force that can transform lives, communities, and organizations. But in order for kindness to be effective and sustainable, it must be rooted in strength. The strength to act with purpose, to set healthy boundaries, and to offer support without seeking validation. True kindness is not about pleasing others or gaining approval. It is about being true to yourself, confident in your purpose, and intentional in your actions. It is this type of strength that allows kindness to flourish and make a real impact. In conclusion, we must understand that kindness, when exercised without wisdom, without boundaries, and without discernment, can ultimately work against us. It is not a weakness, but a power, one that requires balance and strength. We must learn to give with intention, knowing when to step in and when to step back. True kindness is not about pleasing others or seeking approval, but about serving with purpose, respecting our own boundaries, and empowering those around us to grow. The reality is that kindness, when it becomes an expectation, loses its value. When we fail to set boundaries, we open the door to exploitation. When we give without discernment, we weaken our leadership and diminish our own worth in the eyes of others. But when kindness is rooted in wisdom, it becomes a tool for transformation, not only in the lives of others, but in our own lives as well. This evening, as leaders, as individuals, and as human beings, we must recognize that the strength of our kindness comes not from its frequency, but from its quality. Kindness must be a choice, one that we make deliberately, thoughtfully, and with the understanding that it serves a higher purpose. It is an act of love, not obligation. It is an expression of strength, not weakness. And it is a force that, when wielded with wisdom and discernment, can change the world around us. So, I challenge you today, lead with kindness, but let it be a kindness that is wise, that knows its limits, that nurtures your growth as much as the growth of others. Let your kindness be a reflection of strength, a reflection of purpose, and a reflection of a life lived with true integrity. Only then will your kindness become the power it was always meant to be, and the world will be better for it.